In an era marked by shifting geopolitical sands, few phenomena have captivated the world's attention quite like the rise of BRICS. This coalition of nations has emerged as a formidable force in the global arena, challenging the traditional power structures that have long dominated international relations. This acronym, representing Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has become synonymous with the changing face of global power. Each of these countries brings its unique strengths and perspectives to the table, creating a dynamic and influential group that is reshaping the world order. These five nations, diverse in their cultures, histories, and political systems, have found common ground in their pursuit of a more equitable and multipolar world order. Their collaboration extends beyond mere economic interests, encompassing cultural exchanges, technological advancements, and political alliances. The emergence of BRICS is not merely a geopolitical development, it signifies a fundamental shift in the global balance of power. This shift is characterized by the increasing economic clout and political influence of these nations, which are now key players on the world stage. For decades, the international system has been dominated by a select few, primarily Western nations. These countries have wielded significant influence over global policies and economic practices, often sidelining the interests of developing nations. BRICS, with its vast populations, abundant resources, and burgeoning economies, represents a challenge to this established order. The combined economic output of these nations is substantial, and their growth rates often outpace those of traditional economic powers. The BRICS nations are united by a shared belief that the current global governance structures are outdated and fail to reflect the realities of the 21st century. They advocate for reforms that would make international institutions more inclusive and representative of the diverse world we live in today. They argue for a more inclusive and representative system, one that gives greater voice to the developing world and addresses the concerns of emerging economies. This push for reform is not just about economic equity, but also about ensuring political stability and fostering sustainable development. As the BRICS nations continue to flex their economic and political muscle, their influence on the global stage is only set to grow. Their collective efforts are paving the way for a new era in international relations, one where power is more evenly distributed and the voices of all nations are heard. The story of BRICS begins not in the halls of power, but in the realm of finance. It was a time when the global economy was undergoing significant shifts, and new players were emerging on the world stage. In 2001, Jim O'Neill, then a Goldman Sachs economist, coined the term BRIC to refer to the four largest emerging economies at the time: Brazil, Russia, India, and China. His insight was based on the rapid economic growth and increasing influence of these nations. O'Neill's report, titled Building Better Global Economic BRICS, argued that these four nations had the potential to reshape the global economy in the 21st century. The report highlighted their vast populations, growing consumer markets, and significant natural resources. Initially, BRIC was purely an economic concept, a shorthand way of referring to these rapidly growing markets. It was a term used by investors and analysts to discuss the potential and opportunities within these countries. However, it quickly took on a life of its own. The idea of BRIC resonated beyond the financial world, capturing the attention of policymakers and leaders. The leaders of these four nations recognized the potential of their combined weight and began to explore avenues for cooperation. They saw an opportunity to leverage their collective strengths to influence global economic policies and create a more balanced world order. In 2006, the foreign ministers of Brazil, Russia, India, and China met on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, marking the first formal interaction of the BRIC group. This meeting was a significant step towards formalizing their collaboration. This meeting paved the way for the first BRIC summit, held in 2009 in Yekaterinburg, Russia. The summit was a landmark event, bringing together the leaders of these nations to discuss common goals and strategies. What began as an economist's observation had in less than a decade transformed into a significant geopolitical grouping. The BRIC nations, later joined by South Africa to become BRICS, had established themselves as a formidable alliance on the global stage, shaping economic and political discourse. The inaugural BRICS summit in 2009 was a watershed moment, signaling the group's transition from a loose association to a more concrete entity. This summit marked the beginning of a new chapter in global diplomacy, where emerging economies started to assert their influence on the world stage. The leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, and China came together to discuss a range of pressing issues. These included the global financial crisis, which had shaken economies worldwide, and the urgent need to address climate change. They also focused on the reform of international institutions to better reflect the changing global landscape. At the heart of the summit was a shared desire to promote dialogue and cooperation among the BRIC nations. This cooperation was seen as essential for tackling global challenges and ensuring sustainable development. The leaders recognized the need to coordinate their positions on key global issues and present a united front on the world stage. By doing so, they aimed to enhance their collective bargaining power and influence in international affairs. The summit concluded with the release of a joint declaration outlining the group's shared principles and objectives. This declaration was a testament to their commitment to working together for mutual benefit. The Yekaterinburg Declaration emphasized the importance of reforming global financial institutions, such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, to give greater representation to emerging economies. This was seen as a crucial step towards creating a more balanced and fair global financial system. It also called for a more equitable and democratic international order, one that respected the sovereignty of all nations and promoted multilateralism. The leaders believed that such an order would lead to more stable and peaceful international relations. The first BRICS summit laid the groundwork for a new era of cooperation among these rising powers. It set the stage for future summits and ongoing collaboration, which would continue to shape the global economic and political landscape for years to come. In 2010, the BRIC grouping took a significant step towards solidifying its position on the global stage by inviting South Africa to join its ranks. This move, which transformed the acronym to BRICS, was widely seen as a recognition of South Africa's growing economic and political influence on the African continent. The inclusion of South Africa added a new dimension to BRICS, expanding its geographical reach and bringing in a nation with a unique perspective on global issues. South Africa's strong democratic credentials and its experience in navigating complex political transitions enriched the group's diversity and provided a valuable counterpoint to the other members. South Africa's integration into BRICS was seamless, with the nation actively participating in all of the group's initiatives and contributing to its growing influence. The expanded BRICS bloc now represented a more formidable force in global affairs, with a combined population of over 3 billion people and a significant share of the world's resources and economic output. Since its inception, BRICS has sought to establish itself as a platform for pragmatic cooperation among its member states, focusing on areas of common interest and mutual benefit. While the group's agenda has evolved over time, it remains anchored in a set of core objectives that guide its activities and shape its interactions on the global stage. One of the primary pillars of BRICS cooperation is economic development. Recognizing their shared challenges as emerging economies, the BRICS nations have prioritized initiatives aimed at fostering sustainable growth, promoting trade and investment, and strengthening financial stability within their borders and beyond. Another key area of focus is political and security cooperation. BRICS members engage in regular dialogue on regional and global security issues, seeking to coordinate their positions and present a united front on matters of shared concern. They advocate for a multipolar world order based on the principles of international law, respect for national sovereignty, and peaceful resolution of disputes. Perhaps the most concrete manifestation of BRICS's commitment to reshaping the global financial architecture is the establishment of the New Development Bank, or NDB. Launched in 2015 with headquarters in Shanghai, China, the NDB represents a significant departure from the traditional Bretton Woods institutions, aiming to provide an alternative source of funding for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in emerging economies. The NDB's founding members, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, each hold an equal share of voting rights, reflecting the bank's commitment to a more democratic and equitable approach to global governance. Unlike the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, where voting power is skewed in favor of developed countries, the NDB gives equal weight to the voices of the developing world. Since its inception, the NDB has approved over 80 projects worth more than $30 billion, focusing on areas such as renewable energy, transportation infrastructure, water resource management, and social infrastructure. The bank's project portfolio reflects its commitment to supporting sustainable development and addressing the unique needs of emerging economies. While economic cooperation remains a cornerstone of the BRICS agenda, the group's collaboration extends far beyond the realm of finance. Recognizing the interconnected nature of global challenges, BRICS has embraced a multi-sectoral approach, fostering partnerships in areas as diverse as science and technology, education and culture, health, and agriculture. In the field of science and technology, BRICS nations have established joint research centers and launched collaborative programs in areas such as nanotechnology, biotechnology, and information and communication technology. These initiatives aim to leverage the respective strengths of each member state and promote innovation-driven growth. BRICS has also placed a strong emphasis on people-to-people exchanges, recognizing the importance of cultural understanding and fostering closer ties between the citizens of its member states. The group has launched a range of initiatives aimed at promoting cultural exchange, including film festivals, youth forums, and educational exchange programs.